Welcome to our online newsletter, our first for Term 4 2020. Today's newsletter will take a couple of forms. The first part will be just some information about the term that's upcoming, and the second part will be around a theme, and we'll be interviewing some of our senior boys for next year. I'd just like to congratulate the following people who have been selected for the executive of the Lauries Community Committee, the old PNF. I thank Julie Wright-Smith as the President, Angela Sheehy who's the Vice President, Erin Kavanagh who takes on the role as Secretary, as well as Brad Dean, Marty Flannery and Tanya Hansen who'll take on portfolios of sport, culture and music, as well as social justice and service. This week we've had a series of music concerts. We had Jazz on the Hill last week, big attendance, it was a great evening and I thank everyone involved for that. On Tuesday evening we had strings and choir concert. It was excellent. There were many people in attendance in COVID safe planned, and we had that outdoors as we did on Friday night. And this Friday is a strings concert, so I encourage as many of you to attend as is possible. To remind people that the Lauries Walk ends this Sunday, and I encourage as many as possible to get out there and get some physical exercise. And if you have a few spare coins, perhaps donate to some of our social justice initiatives. I congratulate the AIC athletic squad. Even though we finished 6th this year, it was a great community and team effort. All those involved in All Schools Touch, and I wish those boys involved in the AFL Queensland finals this weekend all the best. And you may have seen a newspaper article about that this week. Finally, I congratulate Rice House on winning the House Cup. It's a very hotly contested competition, and Rice were deserved winners this year, just getting over the line with their academic performance, making them the champion house for 2020. The second part of this interview is really around a bit of a theme, and it's a theme of leadership and what the school can offer. On assembly this week, I spoke about an old boy, he's a 70-year-old old boy by the name of Barry Kirby. And I spoke to all the boys about his sense of service. In this particular newsletter, we'll have a link which will give you a video about Barry's life, but just very briefly, Barry graduated here as Vice Captain, he was an athlete, and he was in charge of the cadets. But Barry failed Year 12. Now Barry's family couldn't afford for him to repeat, so he went and became a carpenter and did a number of different jobs. He had a life-changing moment in New Guinea when he found a woman on the side of the road probably dying of AIDS. He took her to a hospital and she died the next day. Barry made a commitment to do medicine, which was the voice that had been there for some time. He had doubters and he wasn't really given an opportunity. After 10 years study and in his 50s, Barry graduated from medicine. Barry's now the leader in obstetrics in Papua New Guinea, and he's leading the way in making sure that women are safe during childbirth. I commend the video to you. Even though it's a Griffith Uni promotion, it's got some very strong messages for our young people about leadership and service being very, very important. I would also like to introduce and welcome our school leaders for next year, our captain and our 2 vice captains. And I'd like to interview them very shortly about what it is that's special for them about Lauries and what's special about leadership. I've got with me our student leaders for 2021 elect. It was announced in the newsletter last week, but I'd like to introduce you to Will Radcliffe, who's our college captain, Harry Holt, one of our vice captains, and Ben McCarthy, also one of our vice captains. We're still working through at this stage, looking at who the leaders will be for prefects and house leaders. But I thought rather than introduce them personally, I would ask them a question each to finish our newsletter for Term 4. So I'll start with you, Will. Will, I'm going to ask you, what does leadership mean for you and what's your hope for next year?
I think in a Lauries context especially, it's really important that a leader serves and that a leader leads from behind rather than from the front. Still making for an example, but also I think the notion of only being as strong as your weakest member is really potent.
Yeah.
And so I like to keep that in mind, in this context especially.
And for next year?
And next year, I really want to make it important that we build on the foundations of our predecessors, our past captains, and our past seniors. I think it's really important that we build on those foundations that they've made, because I think they've done a really good job at building this school, and we can build upon that.
Thank you, Will. And I'm going to move to Harry, who's on my right. Harry, what is it that you think's special about St Lawrence's?
Yeah, so I think Lauries is set aside from the rest of the schools. I think what sets us aside is the strong community that we have. I think we've got almost 2,000 boys that almost every single one has a strong sense of pride and passion in the college. Whether that's supporting sport teams on the weekend, turning up to music festivals that we have here at the college, or just simply participating in all aspects of college life. I think we've really got a grateful bunch of boys that are grateful and utilise the opportunities here at Lauries.
Thank you, Harry. And Ben, if you're going to give a message to the younger students of the college, perhaps even those who are starting next year in Year 5 and 7, what would that message be?
Well, the message I'd give, the thing I've learnt over the Lauries journey is doing the little things right 100% of the time, and especially when no one's watching, because even though you might not get the awards for it or teachers seeing you do it, it gives yourself a little boost of pride. And just by picking up that piece of rubbish when no one's watching, tucking in your shirt, wearing the uniform correctly, or even with pride, that really gives yourself a sense of just a boost really in life. So that'd be my message.
So I'd like to thank Will, Harry and Ben for their words, and you'll probably see and hear from them all again, particularly next year. You'll note they're wearing white shirts. So this year, for the first time, our Year 11 boys assume leadership in Term 4 with the changes to our Queensland Certificate of Education. And these boys have now stepped into the mantle of leadership. The 12s are on an alternative schedule, and they'll move into external exams in week 4. So I wish these boys well. I know they'll do a great job. They're excellent young men, and they lead a really great year level. So it's my hope to have a great 2020. And I wish everyone well for this term, and I trust it'll be an enjoyable term, particularly for our seniors who move into the next stage of their life's journey. Thank you very much.